Here are the top 5 commercial cleaning clients that we've seen in our 7-figure commercial cleaning company that's been the best to work with. If you don't know who I am, I'm Matt, your 7-figure commercial cleaning CEO. We did start from scratch, just like many commercial cleaning business owners, but built our company all the way up to be a national brand, and our own operation is still in the 7 figures itself. If you want the complete blueprint on how to build a 7-figure commercial cleaning company, check out the link in the description. So a mistake many commercial cleaning business owners make is they go after every kind of commercial client that they can find in their market. In order to build a self-sustaining commercial cleaning company that can scale into that high 6 figures, 7 figures, 8 figures, and beyond, you can't just take on all of these different clients. What you need to do is target specific types, because what ends up happening is instead of having a business that gives them freedom and profit and cash flow and all the things that we want as commercial cleaning business owners, they instead end up with this mess of accounts that is an absolute headache to manage. Not only that, but the way that the clients are paying is difficult for you to draw a profit from. And employee turnover and scheduling and all the other pieces of running the operation are extremely difficult. Now, the same can actually happen even if you have great accounts, if you don't have great systems, thus why I have the link down below. But a very important part is setting your company up for that long-term success, for that self-sustainability. So what you're getting in this video are my top 5 favorite types of commercial cleaning accounts to go for, to target, and to win to build yourself that dream commercial cleaning company. And just so you know, we service all of these types in our own commercial cleaning company, so I know from firsthand experience what it's like to deal with them. Okay, so type number 1 is by far my favorite. When I first left my career and decided to start a commercial cleaning business, it was number 1 for the economic resilience, and then the next factor I considered was who has the most consistent need in such a strong industry and who has the budget to afford that higher level of service. And what I landed on was not just starting a commercial cleaning company, but starting a medical cleaning company. Now, I thank God that we did land there and start our business that way, because that was in 2019. So when 2020 rolled around and all that happened during 2020 unfolded across the world, our commercial cleaning company stood and actually grew through it. Now it's because by the time the pandemic started to unfold, our commercial cleaning business had over 97% of its revenue coming from medical office cleaning contracts. By this point, just about a year after starting our business, we were doing around $550,000 per year in medical office cleanings. And these were all daily. Some of them were weekly. Some of them were a few times a week type cleaning. So it was very consistent work. It was very profitable work, and it was very sustainable work. So medical offices are a fantastic type of client to add to your commercial cleaning company. Now, I want to be clear with this too, because we were such a new company, we weren't going for hospitals or these massive medical centers at that time. What we were going for instead were just the private medical offices, which can still be very large and need lots of cleaning on a daily basis. Now, the drawback with medical is that most of your experienced competitors are aware of just how great medical can be. So you have to take a specialized approach, be patient with them. It can take some time for them to trust you, and it can take some time for them to make a decision. Now, we've also seen some medical buildings be won in just a matter of days. It really just depends. But in general, we see that medical can take a little bit more time to win the deal with. Now, what ended up happening, because we just happened to choose founding our company on medical cleaning, is it allowed us to have a lot of credibility whenever we started to interact with and approach these other facility types that I'm going to share. Now, this next one also has plenty of room in their budgets. They want their facility looking nice. They work with people that make a lot of money and pay them a lot of money. So that makes them a bit more economically resilient than some others. There is a drawback with this one, which is why it's not in the number 1 slot, and I'll clarify how you can handle that. So this one is private schools. Now, what I'm not saying is daycares. Now, the difference is daycares are typically for the preschool aged children in your community, whereas private schools, while they might have a daycare attached to it at times, private schools can go all the way up through high school and even into college. And the unique thing about private schools is that the parents who send their kids to these, they make plenty of money and they pay some hefty fees to send their kids to these schools. So these schools have an image to uphold. They have people with money that they have to please. They have kids that are going to be in their facility all the time. Now, the main drawback that happens with these private schools is what do you do during holidays and the summer times? And if you don't have this figured out before you go into the pricing or bidding process with them, then you're going to be left without cash flow during those periods. What we like to do for these schools is offer a summer school cleaning program, which typically they may ask you for that if they already have a program going on, but sometimes they just forget to ask. And if you offer to help them out through their summer school period, it really helps them a lot. Number 2 is the summers and the holidays are great times for deep project work. What I mean by that is you can do carpet cleaning, strip and wax, window cleaning. You can do the really high surfaces, so getting up into the ceilings, cleaning off the tops of the ducts. You can do all kinds of stuff throughout the summer or throughout the breaks that you really can't spend the time on whenever you're trying to take care of the daily mess that's created when they're in session. Now, a unique thing that I love with private schools is that they tend to develop a personal relationship with your team that's cleaning the facility. With many other commercial cleaning client types, your team is in there whenever they are gone, right? But whenever it comes to private schools, oftentimes they have someone called a day porter that they want you to provide that's there on site all day. Then you have an evening team that can come in, sometimes even early, right? They might want you there at 2 or 3, so the work can start earlier. They're going to get to interact with your staff. And what that does is it makes your company sticky. So instead of sending you all these complaints and getting mad at people that they never met and they don't have a face to and it's impersonal to them, they just come to you and say, solve this problem or we're quitting. Now, instead, if there is an issue, what we've seen is typically they just ask the staff, hey, can you go take care of this? I saw this thing over here. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. And our staff go take care of it. And then they see that and they appreciate it. So it's quieter on our end. It's quieter on their end. They like the people that they end up working with and having a face to. And those contracts have been some of the most stable contracts we've ever had. Now, this next one may depend on where you're at, but if you have 1 or 2 or many of these where you're at, go for it. One of the most lucrative contracts we have ever gotten was with a data center. Data centers are where the internet cloud exists. And if you're not sure what that is, it's just whenever you save something to Google Drive or you save something to Dropbox or you save something online, where does that actually go? It goes to a data center. Data centers are also becoming popular because of AI and the power and memory that's needed behind that for mass scaling. And because of the nature of what they do, they typically don't have an enormous amount of employees there, but they have a high need for very fine-tuned cleaning. And that's because they have all these massive servers in these huge warehouses where dust is not supposed to accumulate, because that dust will cause problems in their systems and it can ultimately shut them down. They will also have office spaces as well for their employees, and their offices typically aren't going to be as highly demanding as a medical facility. Now, you do need to clean data centers very carefully, because if you're to go through the aisles where the servers are, you can't just stir up a bunch of dust. So you're not supposed to just take a broom and start sweeping straight through there. You have to use something called sweeping compound. And essentially what sweeping compound does is it keeps the dust from getting kicked up in the air. So whether you're using machines to do the sweeping, or you're going to use a scrubber that puts water on the floor and just keeps it under control, anything like that, the whole idea is you're not going to be adding dust into the air. Your job is to remove the dust. You also can't do anything that's going to create any sort of static charge. You can't touch anything if there's any risk of a static charge. So be sure that you know how to clean data centers before you actually get into one. Now, this next one is prevalent across the board. No matter where you're at, you're going to have this type of client. It's going to be similar to office cleaning, but it's still going to have a little bit of a specialty component to it. But also with this, we've seen in general that they're really good about how they pay, as opposed to, say, a property manager contract taking you 30 to 40 to 50, 60 days to pay you. These ones typically can get you paid in under 30 days. And these are going to be local credit unions. Now, I don't say banks, because banks can be national, sometimes even international, and they can be a bit harder to work with or to get into, because typically a national bank brand is going to be making decisions out of one city, and they're going to subcontract to all these different cities with different vendors in different cities. Local credit unions are going to offer the benefits of working with a bank and cleaning their type of space and how they pay, but it's local, right? You can control the relationship there. They're going to make decisions that benefit their local community. The thing that you have to be ready for with banking is all of their security precautions. So you need to be ready to provide copies of background checks for any new or existing employees that are going to work inside of a credit union. You also need to be ready to get bonding in place if you don't have it. And bonding is essentially protection against theft because your team is going to be inside of a financial institution after hours. The other factor that you have to consider is that the difference between cleaning a credit union and a medical office is pretty significant. So the pricing for, say, a 5,000 square foot credit union versus a 5,000 square foot medical office is going to be quite significant, but the time and the cost to clean it is also going to be quite less for the credit union. But the good news is credit unions usually come in packs. You can get their corporate office, you can get all their support buildings, and you can get all their branch locations. Now, number 5 might sound basic, but there is a way to make this one easier to target because that is going to be the downside to this one. It's general office spaces. They're fantastic. They don't complain much. They usually pay pretty well. You got to have some larger ones, though, in order to make it a significant contract. If you're going to be there 5 days a week or anything like that, they got to be some pretty large office spaces. But in general, office spaces are easy to take care of and they don't complain much. Yet the downside to trying to win more and more office spaces is that what does office space even mean? There's all kinds of different industry types that have office spaces. And some of those industries are ones that we don't want to mess with. So here's how I go about targeting ideal office spaces. I would target what are called professional offices. So that's going to look like real estate offices, legal offices, like you've got a real estate law office, you have general law offices, you have business law offices, you have all kinds of different lawyers and law groups and firms in most cities. You've also got professional accountants. We're not talking about H&R Block, unless you got a large H&R Block, but they're probably deciding that at a higher corporate level, right? We're talking about local accounting firms. And there's some pretty significant ones that can exist in most towns and in most cities. You can also get into insurance offices. So all of these are different professional types that have to be licensed by their state to operate in the state. And all of those professionals have to have office spaces to work out of. And usually if you target the firm itself, you can get those larger contracts. And the great thing about professional office spaces is that they're so focused on just building their business, they're not going to give the cleaning hardly a second thought. Obviously, if there's issues, they'll let you know. But what that means is when it comes to pricing and when it comes to when you can get paid, if you can get paid up front or as close to upfront as possible, it's a lot more likely to happen at a better price and more upfront with a professional office. And that's actually something that I show you how to do, is how can you get paid up front in your business. That's included in our 7-figure commercial cleaning business system in the link down below. So if you want to own a commercial cleaning business that can run on its own, that can pay you well, that can pay you really well, and that can continue to grow, then go on down there and you'll get everything that you need to make that happen. If you found this video helpful, please like, please subscribe. I'm Matt, your 7-figure commercial cleaning CEO, here to help you build an incredible commercial cleaning business. Until next time, keep building.